Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining our webinar today on how Aruba scaled their customer engagement strategy. I'm Ella Eng, CS Director and Team Lead for the Enterprise Customer Success Team at Totango, joined by Matt Harmon, Director and Head of Customer Success Operations at Aruba, and Teresa Chu, Head of Digital Engagement Strategy at Aruba. Thank you both for being with us here today. So our agenda, I'm going to start off with digital first customer success strategy, then pass it off to Teresa, where she'll talk about Aruba's digital transformation story, why digital customer success made sense for them, and how their program came about. And then Matt will review their efforts for scaling and globalization. And then we'll open it up for Q&A. So digital first customer success is an approach to customer success management that prioritizes automated digital interactions and leverages digital processes and data in order to help customers achieve desired outcomes. The digital journey will be made up of a combination of these three elements. Your customer journey is the path or life cycle stages that your customer will take and experience with your brand once they become a customer. For a SaaS-based business, it would typically include onboarding, adoption, established, and renewal. And since we're talking about digital, we'll need a digital automation mechanism where we can automate processes and workflows, communications, and reminders. And third is data. There's so much power behind data, and it comprises of so much. It includes your customer 360, which is all the data that you have about your customer, including segmentation, contract value, when their contract renewal date is, and your customer interactions and engagements. But that data also informs customer health, as well as if they're a churn risk in an escalated status or primed for expansion. Additional inputs that will help define our digital journey will be all of your researched and learned customer needs, which is what our customers need and when along the customer journey timeline they need it. And second is your digitally defined outcomes, which are those milestones that we're looking for our customers to achieve with us. So these three elements will make up your digital program, but it really doesn't stop there. For the learned customer needs, it will be a continuous process as we'll be able to learn more from what our customers are doing once the program is running. We'll be able to understand the resulting digital customer outcomes and milestones they are achieving, as well as the activities, and maybe more importantly, their inactivities. And this data further informs and optimizes our digital program. So we're in a continuous cycle of continuous improvement. And because you're powered by all the data that you have about your customers, you can use that data to create very targeted, personalized, and customized digital interactions. So you're potentially reaching out during the third week of onboarding to your customers that just reached a certain onboarding milestone. And this digital program is applicable not only to your tech touch and low touch segment of customers, because digital first is digital for everyone. And these digital communications and milestones that you're putting in place is beneficial for your entire customer base. And putting this program and strategy in place will allow you to do everything at scale, such as optimizing your resources. Your high-touch CSMs will be able to play a primary role with your customers, but they can now focus on more meaningful and value-add engagements. And you can have a pool of hybrid resources who will play a secondary role to digital first, where you can scale to provide as needed support to step in when customers raise their hands, or we're able to see that they might need just a little bit more help to move along, which can be smart and would route appropriately to a CSM, CSE, or technical support, depending on what the needs are. Ultimately, with this strategy, you can operationalize at scale, leverage data and the automation at scale to understand customer needs, identify common issues that arise, and serve up communications and solutions at scale. So optimization is key. Now let's hear from Teresa, who will share with us Aruba's digital transformation story. Teresa?
Thank you, Ella. Yeah, so today I'm going to be covering why the digital customer success program really made sense for Aruba. And I'm also going to be sharing the story behind how this program came to be. So companies were already moving towards this digital experience. I would say definitely the 2020 pandemic outbreak really expedited this whole process. In fact, it's been predicted by the end of 2021 that most B2B SaaS companies will have already moved towards this digital CS-led model characterized by customization, engagement, and automation to deliver better customer experiences at scale. So in particular for Aruba, it really made sense because after we analyzed our customer install base, we noticed that over 90% were touch customers. And with B2B SaaS and subscription-based economies really booming, one of the difficulties our CSMs faced was being stretched for time and having to still provide that one-to-one level of attention to each and every account. So by moving towards a small and adopting this one-to-many approach, we are still able to deliver that personalized customer experience that customers have come to expect, but in a more highly measurable and scalable manner. So now a little bit about how our whole digital customer success program came to be. So it all starts with data, and definitely having access to clean and reliable data is super important for a number of scenarios. For example, understanding and building customer segments, understanding how customer health is tracked, understanding if there is product data and whether that can be brought in to track user behavior. So this is all super important. Additionally, then came building out the journey maps and identifying the respective touch points. These definitely serve as a blueprint to implementing the digital CS program. Definitely, I would stress that these documents are living documents. At any time there are changes that come up, it is important that these are constantly evolving to reflect those changes. Next comes crafting compelling stories that are really going to resonate with your audience and nudge them to take the desired action. And of course, it's super important to analyze the metrics, derive insights, and continuously evolve these campaigns so that we maximize ROI and efficiency of them. So the customer journey maps and the respective touch points were a direct output of our customer success MVP process. MVP stands for minimum viable product, and it means it's a framework where the focus is to produce the least or smallest amount of functionality required to successfully deliver a customer success experience to our customers. And this framework is comprised of a hierarchy of goals, epics, and issues, each with their own respective owners, and tasks are completed in 2-week intervals known as sprint cycles. So with content creation, one of the most important thing to keep in mind is really understanding what your goals are. This is really going to shape your messaging and your key call to action. Additionally, it's equally important to understand your audience so that you know who you're speaking to and how you want to speak to them. For me, it was really important that the tone and the feeling of the content came as though it came from a real human being, from a CSM. So that's why Steve to the left, our digital CSM, was born. I really wanted to breathe life into the content, and I wanted Steve to serve as that helpful digital CSM that was really going to guide our audience through the onboarding process and point them to critical resources such as knowledge bases and forums so that they could be self-sufficient with the product. And I would stress that it is equally important to make sure that all your content is on brand. So while I feel customer success should really own the customer facing communications, I do think it's important to collaborate and remain in lockstep with other teams such as marketing so that you make sure the look and the feel is aligned and the tone and the voice, everything is on brand, because at the end of the day, you want your audience to have the seamless and whole experience with your product. So now let's go ahead and double click into one of our campaigns. This is the first of our onboarding series of communications. I would argue that this is probably the most important email communication in your entire series for any organization, just because welcome emails often get the highest open and engagement rate. At this point in time, your customers, they are new customers and they're excited about your product. They're eagerly awaiting and hungry for more information from you. So it's super important that you start off strong. So in this particular communication piece, in the content, I made sure to reaffirm the product's value. I included helpful resource links to onboarding, as well as I included custom data points available within Totango to add that level of personalization. I also integrated an engaging video where Steve, the digital CSM, is walking the customer through the product, as well as pinpointing them to those helpful resources to get them successfully onboarded. One of the things that I really struggled with was I had so much information that I wanted to include in this very first email. So I was really struggling how to structure it in a way that it was easy to digest and easy to follow for any audience. And so I was really happy to find that Totango's pre-designed template library offered these really easy to use drag and drop modules that really helped me organize all this information in an easy to understand and follow way. And as a result, from moving towards this template, we've noticed an increase in our engagement by about 4%. So it's definitely been very successful. So keeping a close eye on metrics is critical because it's basically letting you know like what's working, what's not, and any corrective actions that you should take. I think data limitations is one of the common obstacles that a lot of CS operations face. So I think a good place to start just to get a pulse on whether or not your communications are successful is with the classic email metrics. So for example, delivery rate is going to let you know, are there any backend delivery issues? Are you experiencing bad data health? The bounce rate is going to let you know if you're contacting the right people. Open rate signifies if anyone is opening your emails, and subject line is the most important variable in this equation. In addition, engagement such as click-through rate, click-to-open rate, I would argue click-to-open rate is more insightful just because it's taking of those who open, who actually clicked and engaged with your content. And unsubscribe is going to let you know if you are overwhelming your users with way too many communications or you're sending things that are relevant to them. I'm happy to report that we have been able to achieve open rates and click-to-open rates that are 1.5 times industry averages, and our click-through rates are triple the industry average. Additionally, you would want to focus on metrics that indicate customer usage. So this is really going to vary from organization to organization. But for example, do you see any change in product utilization rates? Are churn rates going down? Do you see people actively renewing their subscription orders? These are all indicators of how successful your communications may be for the end user. I think we all know that it costs more to attract a new customer rather than retaining existing customers. That's why it's so important to focus your efforts on customer retention and building those loyal relationships. And with customer surveys, you're going to be able to learn about customers' needs and wants, and you can build out a clearer user profile, and you can cater your content accordingly to their needs. In addition, they're a good way to get product feedback that you can then relay back to the product team just to improve the overall experience. There's so many elements within an email communication. So that's why it's important to test and continually test and make iterations just so that you can improve the overall customer engagement rate. So everything, for example, from the subject line to the visuals, the style, the length, the content, the call to actions, all those elements should be tested and iterated upon. So we have leveraged several of Totango's tools to really power our marketing program. So by setting goals, it allows us to track an additional way to track the success of our campaigns on top of the classic email metrics, because we're able to measure if people took the desired action after receiving our communications. As I mentioned before, we've definitely taken advantage of the beautiful responsive templates and easy drag and drop modules, and they have really helped us elevate our communications. By moving towards action and time-based triggers, we've definitely been able to send more specific and targeted messaging. I've noticed that since moving toward this model, before we were sending things manually, I do see a boost in our engagement rate. It's doubled, so it's definitely been very successful moving toward this model. Additionally, whenever possible, I do integrate any custom data points within Totango, whether it be the subject line or the content, just to add that additional level of personalization to the end user. The segmentation allows us to define customer groups that we can communicate with. So again, moving towards that goal of sending more specific and targeted messaging. So I think it's important to continue to stay up to date with trends and look for ways to really further our communications. One of which being in this day and age, consumption of information really takes place across several different channels at the same time. So it's important to understand your audience's preferences and then rightfully focus your efforts on the correct channel. So yeah, I wanted to see what you guys use for which channels you guys focus on with your digital CS program. So we're going to launch a poll just to see what you guys use for your communications. I'm curious to learn about that. In addition, I think I mentioned it previously, but even though I feel like customer success should own the customer facing communications, definitely it's important to partner with other teams such as product sales and marketing, just so that you ensure the look and the feel and the messaging is aligned across the board. And then it's also a good way to make sure that wires aren't getting crossed and that customers aren't receiving too many irrelevant messages at the same time. Whenever possible, it's important to really seize the opportunity to speak to the customer and learn about their needs and wants. At the end of the day, they are the ones consuming your content, and your goal is to create unique content that's relevant to their needs. So the more you know about them, the better you're able to achieve this goal. In addition, I always make it a point to monitor the marketplace and just learn about industry trends and see what our competitors are doing to identify any gaps or opportunities. I think seminars and workshops are also a great opportunity to network with your peers and learn best practices from them. So now I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Matt, who's going to talk about scaling and globalization.
Thanks, Teresa. So given all the great work Teresa has done for our digital approach, it's provided us a way to scale our CSM team and start supporting our high-touch customers. First, we start off by segmenting our customers into 3 tiers. Tier 3, these are tech touch customers. Mainly they get digital communications, but we do give them the ability to raise their hand for help, and we leverage a pooled CSM team to handle their needs. The tier 2 customers are our mid-tier customers. They still get all of our digital communications, but they get some interactions from our CSMs. The hope is to grow these customers into a higher tier and build a deeper relationship with them. Finally is our tier 1 customers, which are our high-touch customers. They still get all of our digital content that the other tiers get, but it's all been customized with their CSM's information, and it's a much more direct interaction, and proactive reach outs are made by our CSMs. As you can see here, we have the tier 3 journey map on the bottom, and all the green circles are the digital touches we do throughout their journey. Our tier 1 and 2 customers on the top have many more touch points. They have all the digital touch points, but the orange circles note where a human interaction exists. These interactions include the CSM introductions, CSP motions, and other engagements throughout the life cycle of the customer. Additionally, throughout the customer journey, we've created many success plays for any time a customer goes off track to help drive that customer back into a healthy green state or provide some proactive measure. The next step for us in our maturity as a CS organization is how we can grow globally. As with all things, we start off with a digital approach. We start off by creating our digital content in multiple languages. We leveraged an attribute on the customer level for language preference, and then created success plays to update the language based upon country. So for example, if the country equaled Mexico, Spain, or other Latin American countries, we'll update the language preference to be Spanish. Currently, we support about 8 different languages in our digital communications. But based upon our existing install base, new customers, and responsiveness of our customers getting localized content, we're building out our high-touch CSM resources globally. One of the first places we're looking to grow our high-touch presence is in EMEA. For us, this is because of the new customers are growing there, as well as we have gotten a great response from our digital CS outreaches there.
Thanks, Matt and Teresa, for sharing your digital transformation story, how you've scaled your resources and operations, and overall, how well the program is doing. It's very exciting to hear. Thanks so much for everyone for participating.